The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Hello and welcome to Fearless, Fabulous You. I am your host, Melanie Young, and I am so excited to be seeing all of you. Most of the time I'm doing an audio podcast, and this is like my first video podcast. So I'd love to hear from you and tell me what you think. I'm open to ideas, criticisms, and suggestions. I travel a lot. If you follow me and my husband, David Ransom, we host the show, The Connected Table. You know that we are blessed to be in the business of writing about wine and food and travel. And I like to sometimes bring that enthusiasm and my knowledge to you, my followers and listeners of Fearless, Fabulous You, because did you know that over 60% of wine purchased in the United States is purchased by women? That's right. Women have considerable purchasing power when it comes to enjoying wine. And I want you to enjoy it responsibly, with pleasure, in moderation, and with knowledge on how to serve it, pair it, and store it. So today we're going to talk about something that's popped up because it's summer and it's hot, and everywhere I seem to go, the wine is being served too warm, but sometimes the white wines are too cold. So we're calling this, when it comes to drinking wine, check your temperature. This episode is going to talk to you about how to properly serve wine at the proper temperature, also how to store it so it doesn't turn and go bad, what to look for if the wine is not optimum, and also what to do with wine that may be a day or two old that it's not as fresh, but you can still use it, turn it into wine coolers and spritzers. So that's the plan. And then I'll have two wines that are here to talk about that are rosés, because I'm channeling Provence right now. I'd like to go there. I'd like to see the sunflowers and the lavender fields that are going to be popping up in July. So maybe with these wines from Provence, that trip will happen. Channel it. Okay, so here we go. So first of all, are you drinking wine at the right temperature? Here's the reality. White wines are often served too cold, and red wines are often served too warm. And that really affects the aromas and textures and flavors of the wine and your enjoyment. White wines that are served, and I do have notes, white wines that are served too cold can overwhelm the nuances of flavors that you want to enjoy in the wine. So here's some tips for white wines. Sparkling wines you want to serve chilled. Okay, what are sparkling wines? We're talking about Prosecco, Cremants, Champagne. They all fall, even though they're all very different, into the sparkling wine category. Also Lambruscos, which are sparkling wines. You should probably serve them along with white wines and rosés at 45 to 50 degree Fahrenheit. So chilled, but not cold. Sometimes they're just cold, chilled. Okay, that's about 7 to 10 degrees Celsius if you're in the Celsius area of the world. So those are going to be chilled, but not cold, refreshingly cold, but not bracing. Fuller body wines, you want to serve at about 50 to 55 degree Fahrenheit. So slightly less chilled, but still chilled enough so they're not too warm. That's about 10 to 13 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to just state this now. So what happens if you get a wine that's too warm or just too warm? Can you put an ice cube in it? Well, you can. I have, particularly with red wines that are always served too warm, and I'll get into that in a minute. You just don't want too much ice in there because it does dilute it, and some of my fine wine friends are probably like gagging right now that I'm even recommending it. But you can, and I have, particularly with lighter, fruitier wines and wines that just need a little kick. So it's better to just chill your wine if you're serving wines that need to be chilled. Put them in the fridge or put them over ice in an ice bucket. The best way to do that is to put water in the ice bucket with the ice Water in the ice bucket with ice will chill your wines faster. Do that for 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes before serving. Sometimes we'll pop a white wine in the freezer if we have to just pull it, chill it fast. You don't want it to be overly cold, but you do want it to be chilled. Okay, it's really important. As for red wines, you want to serve these more or less at room temperature or slightly chilled to coax out the layers of fruit, spice, and tannin. Rule of thumb, serve light and medium body reds at 55 degree Fahrenheit, 13 Celsius. So that's just about the same as the fuller bodied whites that I just mentioned. So what are some lighter reds? Well, Beaujolais, which is made from Gamay. Love that lightly chilled. Schioppettino, which is a phenomenal red wine from the Friuli, Venezia, Giulia area. If you can find it, buy it. I love Frappato from Sicily and Cerasuolo d'Abruzzo from Abruzzo. These are wines that are lighter in style. They're red. They are so good, lightly chilled and so refreshing. It'll change your mind about what to drink for the summer. But just remember, you can pop an ice cube if you have to. Just don't do it regularly because ice becomes water and it dilutes the wine. What to do about medium body reds and fuller body reds? Well, the heavier and the more fuller body the red, the less you want to chill it, but you still don't want it to be too warm. Rule of thumb, light and medium body red wines, 55 degree Fahrenheit, that's 13 degrees Celsius. Fuller bodied aged reds, like an aged Bordeaux or a Burgundy or something of that ilk, 60 to 64 degrees Fahrenheit. That's still cool because I don't know what you keep your air conditioning at. We keep ours at 71. My mother used to keep hers at 68. So when you think about 60 to 64 degrees Fahrenheit, that's still fairly chilly, right? Or cooler. For the Europeans, that's 15 to 18% Celsius. Okay. So what you really want to do is, first of all, you don't want to open up a lot of wines at one time if you're having a dinner party. Open up what you need at a time so you're not stuck with unopened bottles of wine that can go to waste. Yeah, wine can last another day. My husband and I have argued 2 days, but really they lose their freshness. And at that point, you might as well cook with it, which we do a lot with open bottles of unfinished wine. But fortunately for us, we tend to finish our wines and don't have that problem. Okay, so another important thing about red wines, many red wines, especially older, finer vintages and fuller bodies, they are going to benefit, and some whites, a few whites that are biodynamic, they benefit from being decanted. What does that mean? You get a decanter, and I wish I had my decanter here. We have two. We broke one. One is fancy from Water for Crystal for good, special dinners. And the other is like eBay, $20. A decanter is a vessel, basically. You could also use a pitcher if you'd had to. You pour the wine into the decanter and let it sit and allow that wine to oxygenate a little bit, which will bring out the aromas and flavors and also balance out the tannins. It also can help remove sediment. So some of the aged wines have sediment. You've seen sediment. It ends up in the bottom of your glass and you're like, what is it? Well, it's not dangerous or anything. It just happens based on how the wine is made. Now, I won't get into science here, but the point is one way to remove the sediment is to decant the wine, maybe 20 minutes before serving, maybe a little longer for older wine. Have a wine filter on top of the lip, okay? And pour the wine out through the sieve or wine funnel or wine net so the sediment does not go into your glass. We always decant most of our red wines because we tend to drink older reds. What's an older red? Well, it could be anything. It could be 1980s, 1990s. Gosh, I'm feeling old. It could be 2000 these days. It depends on the wine. But it does bring out the aromas and flavors by giving that wine time to, as they say, breathe. You don't have to use a decanter for all wines. You can just open up the bottle of red wine and let it breathe and sit in the bottle. But decanting actually gives a lot more fullness, particularly with older vintages. It's kind of important. It's kind of like if you're older and you need to go out and take a walk to get your energy up, right? Think of it that way. The older we get, you got to get your energy up. You got to go take walks to pump in that oxygen and feel better. That's how it is with older wines. I love that comparison. Okay, I love sherry, particularly in the summer, a good dry Fino or Amontillado sherry. I love them chilled. I love good port. I love port cocktails in the summer, particularly white port and tonic. I'm going to touch on these as well because I think you should be trying these and sweet wines. And they deserve special attention. First of all, sweet wines, I never call them dessert wines because you can have many sweet wines with savory dishes, foie gras, spicy Asian dishes, blue cheeses. Oh, so great with sweet wine. So never call them dessert wines because then they're stuck in the dessert category. And like women, nobody wants to be stuck in one category, right? Sweet wines are a large category, and there are many styles. You've got sauternes from France. You've got pasitos from Italy. You have ice wines from Canada and the Niagara region. They're all wonderful. They're all very different in how they're made, and the grapes and styles, another discussion for another time. But rule of thumb, you want to serve these more chilled, 43 to 47 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 6 to 8 degrees Celsius. They are very refreshing that way. You will enjoy them well. Vintage port and sweeter sherries, you serve a bit warmer, 64 to 68 degrees. It's 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, so that the cold does not overcome the layers of textures. I have actually a bottle of sherry in the refrigerator. It keeps for quite a while. Unlike still wine, sherry can keep because it's fortified. And I've had it there for it's a Palo Cortado, and I've recently brought it out and put some of it in some homemade gazpacho I made over the weekend. So those are wonderful wines to have for aperitifs, sherries in the summer and year-round, just so you try some new things, okay? A couple of other important details when serving wine, and this is probably one of my biggest pet peeves everywhere, is glassware. Not the style. I mean, usually the rule of thumb is you use a flute for champagne because it captures the bubbles. The tulip or straight. The tulip is the one that captures the bubbles and essences. White wines are a medium-sized glass, and then the fuller-bodied bowl glasses are red wine, again, to capture the aromas. But I can't even tell you how many times I've had a glass. I've smelled the glass, which I always do before I have the wine tasted, and the glass smells like a sponge or dishwasher detergent. Because if you go out, obviously the wine glasses are, cleansed in a dishwasher, and sometimes they have a detergent smell. So always smell your glass before you have someone pour the wine in it. And if it smells funky, spongy, chemically, or detergent or residue of some kind, ask for another glass. I've done that a lot, but it will impact your enjoyment of the wine. So think about the glass and serving your wine at home in clean glasses as well. It doesn't really matter the style. Riedel has the ones that are wine specific. We have a range of wine glasses from, little tiny handheld stemless to fine crystal. As long as it's clean, that's what's important. You really want to. Obviously, if you're at a retail store, befriend your retailer and ask that person to suggest wines based on what you're serving at home. If you like a dry white wine, but you want to get out of what you're usually drinking, like Sauvignon Blanc or Pinot Grigio, ask for something different, but say, normally I drink Sauvignon Blanc or Pinot Grigio. What can I try different? Let them know your price point and take home a few bottles to try at home. At a restaurant, it's a bit different because you're opening a bottle of wine. It's usually like 3 times marked up, sometimes even 5. I always do this. I always ask for the wine director or the sommelier, and I'll say, look, I'm interested in ordering some wine. This is what we're having. This is what we're in the mood for. And I'm honest about our price point. We don't always order the least expensive. We certainly can't afford the most expensive, but I always say I'm looking for a special wine that's got great value for quality. Value for quality. That's the buzzword. And I'll ask if they can offer me a taste of a wine. Maybe they have it already opened or just opened or serving by the glass, so I can taste it and see if I want to buy the whole bottle for spending the money. If you're not sure, order the glass. But at the end of the day, if you're going out with 4 people, ordering a bottle of wine versus a glass of wine is going to be much more cost effective. You can get 4 to 6 glasses of wine out of a bottle that's $40, $50, $60 or more. But these days, a glass of wine by the glass can run, $15 to $30. So think about the price point and how you want to do it. A couple of other things. I can't begin to tell you. There's a lot of things called wine faults. I'm not going to get into them. I'm going to get into the one that was my earphone coming out. I'm going to get the one that's most common. And I just have to laugh because I know a lot of people that have drunk corked wine, tainted wine, and don't even know it. So corked wine or cork taint is probably the most common wine fault and very common even at the best wine tastings, at the best restaurants. I've had corked wines served to me on airplanes. I've seen people drink cork wine because they have no idea they're drinking a cork wine. We were at a dinner party with a really good friend. She was so proud of bringing out her cellar wines from the Rhone Valley. 2 out of the 3 were corked, and all of us went, "It's corked, it's corked, it's corked." And my friend got a little defensive and pissed off because we were all going corked. And I tease her about that all the time and call it the chorus of cork. But the reality is you really don't want to drink corked wine because the wine has been tainted. It's off. It's not going to kill you like spoiled food, eating spoiled food, but it's just not good wine. It's gone bad. So you might as well not drink it and ask for another bottle. And if you're not sure and you're at a restaurant or you're with somebody, ask them to taste it and smell it, because you can smell it first. You can smell it a lot and then taste it and say, "Do you agree with me?" Most of the time they will. Okay. What causes cork wine? Well, first of all, wines that are corked. So if you're drinking wine from a screw cap or an artificial cork, you're not going to have a problem with cork taint. It's a mold that grows in the barks of the cork trees, because corks come for trees. Okay. There's many places that make cork. Portugal's probably one of the biggest producers of cork, along with France. A mold grows in the tree called trichloroanisole. It's commonly called TCA and a lot easier to pronounce. That causes cork taint, and it is a common problem with many wines, old, young, whatever. Sometimes an older wine that you've had in your cellar and maybe hasn't been stored for a while or it's just gone is also going to just taste less fresh. The rule of thumb is drink your white wines young and drink your red wines, depending on what they're, lighter, fruity, younger, but older wines, age them more. There's really a lot of rule of thumb in there because I've had some amazing aged white wines. I mean, I've had some wines dating to 2014 that were pretty awesome recently, and that's over 10 years old. So normally, if we're at a restaurant and on the list they have a white wine like a Chardonnay or a Sauvignon Blanc that's 2020 or 2019 or 2018, we usually don't order it because it's probably not the best, where we want to taste it first. We try to keep our white wine orders within the last 2 to 3 years to stay on the safe side. Anyway, you want to avoid cork wine? Buy screw top or artificial cork. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a great way to preserve the wine. Once you've opened your wine, you'll want to recork it or get a wine stopper, because again, you don't want air to get into the wine, okay, and aerate it. So I think that's really, really important. Finally, I think this is really, really important. Let's talk about storing wine. Okay, we've talked about decanting wine. We've talked about chilling wine, getting the right temperature. We've talked about serving wine. We've talked about cork taint. We've talked about speaking up if you feel. We've talked about glassware. We've talked about speaking up if you think the wine isn't good, if you think it's gone over the hill, as they say, or tainted. Speak up. You are not required to drink the wine. Get another bottle. You shouldn't pay for that wine either, by the way. You know what I love about wine? I'll get into this before I talk about storage. It often improves with age, and I think that we like to improve with age. Some of the best wines are made in the poorest soils. That's right. Poor soils make great wine because the wine vines have to struggle more to get deep down and nourished. And sometimes we have to struggle more to succeed and stay well. So poor is a good term in wine. Struggle is a good term in wine. And aging is a good term in wine. And there goes my earplug again, because these are my husband's and he's got bigger ears than me. Okay, I'm going to talk about storing wine. So for about, 20-something years, I lived in this tiny New York apartment, and my dad sent me all these great wines. And Dumbo me, I put them in the credenza. I put them in my closet. I stored them under my bed. I stored them in all the places I had space in my tiny New York apartment. Some were put in the refrigerator. Luckily, most of them survived, not all. Why? Because I didn't properly store them, and there was temperature fluctuations over the years. So hopefully you have more space than I did in my tiny New York apartment. But if you do live in a small space, invest in a wine cooler. That's the best way to protect your wine, and just have a wine cooler, or if you have a large collection, store it off-site and just go and spend the money doing that. Because if you have a large collection of wine, I assume it's a valuable collection of wine, so store it properly. For everyday use, obviously, we don't store all our wines in the white wines and rosés in the refrigerator, because you really want to store them. You want to chill them when they're ready to serve. You don't want to just have them sitting in the refrigerator all the time. That goes with bubbles as well. You want to keep your wines this way. There's 6 basics of storing your wine. Okay, 6. 1, you store your wine bottles horizontally. Okay, you maintain a constant temperature around 55 degrees, just like serving temperature, right? 55 degrees or 13 degrees centigrade. So if you live somewhere where it's hot, like I do in New Orleans, we keep our downstairs where the wine is, the temperature and the AC are cranked up. We try to keep it cranked up to the ideal temperature. Ideally, we want a generator in case we lose power. We don't have one, but we should. But if you own a home, which we don't, you should invest in a generator, period, because of power outages. You won't want to lose your wine. You don't want to lose your food. Okay, spend the money and get a generator. We have a wine cave. Somebody actually gave it to us. It's called the Europe Van, and it holds like 500 bottles of wine. And that's great. It holds the wine, but if the power goes, it doesn't really matter. So invest in a generator if you do have a large collection of wine. Avoid sunlight. Wine does not like light. Wine does not like heat. Okay, wine likes to be cool and comfy and stored in a dark place. Okay, it doesn't like a lot of movement. So if you live over a subway or near a train or something that vibrates, that's not good for the wine. Wine likes to be still, quiet, dark, cozy, in a cave. That's why they call cellars wine caves. You want, believe it or not, some humidity. 70%. Wine likes humidity. Doesn't like to be too dry, doesn't like to be too cold, doesn't like to be too hot, and it doesn't like strong odors around it. So neutral. And that goes for you. If you're going out and tasting wine, do not wear perfume. If I smell perfume on somebody at a wine tasting, amateur, they shouldn't be there. You don't want a lot of scent. So keep your wine very quiet, relaxed, coddle it, and try to drink it. Don't just wait for some special occasion, because it may never come. You should make every day a special occasion. That's what we're doing now. We're drinking our cellar, because why not? We have a lot of wine. My dad was a collector. I had a lot of wine from my prior career in wine marketing. We got to drink it before we die. There's no use waiting for a special day. I'm 66 years old. Every day better be special for me at this point, right? Drink the wine, have a dinner party, pull out the wine, have a sip. Okay. What to do if you have wine left over? I touched on a little bit. Cook with it. Put it in your chicken, put it in your casseroles, put it in your braise with it. Make beef bourguignon, like Julia Child. Cook with it. You can also turn it and let it last for a long time. It'll turn into vinegar, and then you have red wine vinegar or white wine vinegar. That's another option. If you want to consume it faster, here's 2 ideas. 1, spritz it. And that's a tip if you don't like the wine. You just don't like the wine. It's fine, but you don't love it. Okay, you can spritz it by mixing it with Prosecco or club soda and make a wine spritz. Pop a little lime on it and you're done. I mean, your basic wine spritzer. Ice, wine, red, white, or rosé, some club soda or Prosecco if you want to ramp it up, and some wedge of fruit. I like oranges, but I do that when I'm just not thrilled with the wine and I just want to drink it. And I also want to cut my consumption, because obviously adding club soda and spritzing it, not Prosecco, but club soda, you are cutting the alcohol a bit. Another thing to do, it's a little more labor intensive, is to make sangria. Sangria was created in Spain, and according to everything I've read, it's now consumed more by Spanish tourists versus Spain itself, but I happen to love sangria. I like it with less sugar because I really am adverse to sugar right now. It could be red or white. The more traditional sangria is red. I have a recipe here from a traditional Spanish sangria from Spanish sabores, which means Spanish taste. They recommend a 4th cup simple syrup, and it's optional. And I say, forget the simple syrup. Just get a young, fruity red wine, or if you're making white sangria, a fruity white wine, an aromatic white wine. So what's a young, fruity red wine? Gamay. A younger Tempranillo Crianza. A Frappato. But if you want to stick with Spain, just get a young Tempranillo or a Monastral. That's another, or Bobal. Those are Spanish wines. Just a young fruity red wine. Could be from anywhere, to be honest. Some oranges, slice up the oranges. Some lemons, slice up the lemons. You can also put in some lime, slice up a lime. Sangria is fruity. A cinnamon stick, an apple, ideally a green apple, and then you can add in other seasonal fruits. If it's summer, there's peaches and apricots and plums. If it's fall, apples, oranges, and then some carbonated water. It could be flavored like orange and lime, or just club soda. You can also add in Prosecco if you want to ramp it up a little bit, and optional 2 ounces of vermouth or brandy. But I don't think you really need it. I just think you just do it with the sparkling soda, or Prosecco, or water. You put it in, you mix it in a pitcher, let it sit so the flavors seep in, all those wonderful fruit flavors. Often this is served in punch. I like it in a big pitcher. But the more you let it sit out and chill, and you do serve this over ice, by the way, but you more let it sit out, not on ice, just let it sit. All those wonderful fruits will sink in, and the cinnamon, and you'll get this wonderful fruity, cinnamony, spicy red wine or white wine sangria. Very refreshing. Serve it over ice. As I was writing this up, I was like, I want to make sangria. I want to make sangria with some non-alcohol wine, because we are sent some non-alcohol wine, 0 alcohol or alcohol-free, as they call it, wine to taste. I haven't found one yet that I really like, but I do support the concept of alcohol-free options for people. But since I don't really love any of the wines I've tasted, we're going to make alcohol-free sangria with it and see if that works. So there's always a way to use a bottle of wine, whether you like it or not. You can cook with it, you can drink it, you can spritz it, you can make it sangria, you can make a wine cocktail. Interesting stuff. So I'm going to just also talk about wine etiquette. You've been invited to dinner and you say, can I bring a bottle of wine? People always want us to bring wine because we have so much. I always say, would you like a bottle of wine to serve with the meal? And if so, what are you making? So I can bring something. Or would you like us to bring just another bottle of wine for you to enjoy later? Why is that? Because I've had friends who have hosted dinners, and people have brought very nice bottle of wines. And I've seen people open those very nice bottle of wines for the dinner when they were intended to be a gift for the guest. The best thing to do is, if you were invited to a dinner party, say, can I bring some wine for the dinner or the lunch or the brunch? That states it right there. And your host will say, no, we're fine. We've got plenty. And then you'll say, okay, then I'll bring you a special wine to enjoy later. If you're bringing wine, be very clear to your to your host, I brought you this bottle of wine. I would love for you to enjoy it later. You don't need to serve it with the meal. Or I bought this wine. I thought you'd like to serve it with the meal. But be very specific, because I've seen some noses get out of joint when special bottles were opened for special, not so special occasions by people who didn't know the bottles were special. So that's a little wine etiquette. Another thing is, when you're bringing wine, and say it's a picnic or outdoors, say, can I bring some glassware with the wine? Maybe they don't have glassware. You could and if it's outdoors, would you like me to bring some disposable glassware? Do you need an ice bucket? Can I bring anything to serve with the wine? That's just a courtesy, because not everybody has wine accoutrements, even decanters. We've brought decanters with us to dinner parties just because the people may not have decanters. Ask. It's always nice. And if you're looking for a gift, wedding gift, home gift, whatever, you know that people like wine, or they're creating their, for newlyweds creating their new home, a really great gift is either a set of nice wine glasses and a bottle of wine, or a decanter. Doesn't have to be real expensive, but a decanter and a wine funnel and a bottle of wine, because those are great gifts. And not everybody buys great wine glasses or decanters. They usually get cheap stuff, or they don't have a decanter at all. So it's a nice gift to give. Wine stoppers, I think, are a total waste of money to give as gifts. When we got married, we were given a lot of wine coasters. We use exactly one wine coaster, and I have the rest here. I'll probably sell them on eBay. But a decanter is great. And decanters break, so you probably want to have 2 or 3 decanters ready at all times. And glasses break. So another fun thing to do is to give people non-breakable glasses. If you know they have a pool, for example, or they live at the lake, a fun, not too expensive gift is to find some unbreakable wine glasses and put them in a picnic basket, wrap them with napkins, and say, this is, and with a bottle of wine, and say, this is for your next outing. That's a great gift also. So think about that. When you're entertaining, or you are going to an event, never go empty-handed. My mother said, never go empty-handed, and always write thank you notes. So I'm a good Southern girl when it comes to that. So I am going to conclude this little lesson on serving wine with 2 wines that I have been sent, because I'm in the mood for Provençal rosé. Now, why is that? Well, I've been in Italy a lot, and I love Italy, and I love Italian wines. But for me, Provençal rosé is the benchmark. And it is, the 4th of July is coming up, and I'm going to be chilling these babies down. These are both from Provence. This one is H&B, is the name of the producer, H&B, and it is from organic grapes. It is from Coteau d'Aix-en-Provence, one of the 3 main production areas of Provençal rosé. I bet you didn't know this, but Provence produces 80% of rosé in France. It's not the exclusive area, because Tavel is wonderful, Languedoc-Roussillon is wonderful, and there's other great rosés, but 80%. And 40% are made in a very specific area, production zones. This is one. Another is Coteau de Provence and Varro Coteau of Provence. Another is Bandol. This is a very special wine. They tend to be fuller bodied, more aromatic. This is probably a $30 bottle of wine, also from H&B. It is Mourvedre, Grenache, and Cinsault. Most Provençal wines are blends of Rhone-style grapes from the south of France, commonly Grenache, Cinsault, Mourvedre. It's a common blend. This is a little less expensive. I think this is like $21, the H&B organic. And it is Grenache, Cinsault, and Roll. Oh, Roll. That's interesting. So Grenache is the main grape. If it's in Spain, it's called Garnacha. Cinsault in Roll, Rolle. And I bet you don't know what that is. And I'm going to tell you, it's Vermentino, a white grape. Yes, there's a little bit of white grape in this wine. So I'm going to chill these babies up to the category that I said, 55 degrees, maybe 50 to 55, and enjoy them this weekend. These wines are provided by my friends at Vineyard Brands. They sent us a bouquet of rosés to try. They're all terrific. They do a lot in the south of France. They also do La Vieille Fermée from the Mi Plan, which is a very widely available, often under $10 rosé that is really terrific. Great wines. These are a little bit more. Most rosés from France are under $30. You can get a good one for $10. As I said, the Famille Perrin, which is actually from the Rhone, under $10. You don't have to spend a lot on rosé, but I swear by French rosé first and foremost. Rosé from Provence, rosé from the Rhone, Southern Rhone, rosé from Languedoc-Roussillon, and Tavel, which is a rosé-only appellation in the Rhone Valley. Other rosés I like, though, I like Chiaretto from Italy. It's from Lake Garda, which has a Mediterranean climate similar to Provence. They make Provençal-style dry rosés. I like my rosés dry and fruity and not overly heavy. You can't go wrong with Provence rosés. You can't go wrong with Chiaretta rosés. You can't go wrong with Tavel. And if you like a darker style, more savory gastronomic rosé, check out Cerasuola d'Abruzzo. They're almost so dark that they look red, but they're rosés, and they're amazing. Okay, I've come to the end of this little lecture on how to enjoy your wine and serve it and store it. I hope it's been helpful. My mouth is watering. I'm dreaming of Provence and those lavender fields and sunflowers, which are not going to happen this year, maybe next. Here are the bottles. H&B, Provence. Go out and check these out. They're widely available. And ask your favorite wine shop, your favorite sommelier for tips on what you can enjoy year-round. And just remember this. These are year-round wines. They say they're summer wines, but they're year-round wines. You can enjoy them all the time. I'm Melanie Young. I hope you enjoyed this segment. I'd love to hear from you on what you think about the TV part of it. I'm a little nervous because this is my first time doing it. I'd love to hear on topics you'd like me to talk about more. And you can reach me at melanie@melanieyoung.com. You can follow me on Instagram at MelanieFabulous. You can listen to this show on more than 65 podcast channels on demand anytime, including all the big ones. You can check me out at melanieyoung.com, and you can check out my other show with my husband, David Ransom, on this network, 2 p.m. Wednesdays Eastern, and anytime on demand on your favorite channel. It's called The Connected Table. And there we talk about our travels and the different producers and chefs and people in the wine and food industry we meet. The goal is to help you explore, enjoy, step outside your comfort zone, and live life with confidence on your terms and in good health. I hope I'm helping you make you do that. So always, you have the choice to choose life, choose on your terms, and staying fearless and fabulous forever. Thank you.